are you?
I'm going really, really well. Thank you so much for agreeing to chat to us today.
Recording in progress.
Oh, hello. Not a problem at all. This is a film I feel, as you will sort of discover in the next couple of minutes, very passionate about. And for the man that is Ivan Sen, I'd do anything.
So tell us a little bit about how you became involved with this film, mate.
So I first heard of it when I was shooting Mystery Road. Ivan kind of approached me there, sort of saying that he had been living with this story for some time, and the kind of story that was a little bit of a forewarning as to where we're headed as a species. And then I first read the script in January of 2014, but obviously we didn't. The first day of shooting wasn't until the 25th of February 2019, so that was 5 years sort of in the making. And I know Ivan had been living with it for at least another 2 years. So that was sort of my entry, I guess, into this movie. And it's funny, mate, because I haven't actually seen the movie, and I've had access to a screener, but I can't bring myself to see it because I know that Ivan sort of really truly wished sort of, I guess, everyone, but particularly sort of me and Gillian, to sort of see it on the big screen, because that's where he kind of wanted it to sort of sit, in the same way that a kind of a Blade Runner plays better on a big screen. This has that type of sci-fi resonance to it. Yeah, look, the world in itself was incredibly affecting for me, particularly the notion of finding light in even the darkest of places. And again, you can tell, and I went back in preparing for these interviews and sort of reread a bunch of early emails from myself and Ivan, and even reread the script, and you can't help but sense that Ivan had been dwelling with this story for some time, because the world was so rich and so easy to see. And then that led you into this really intimate story within that world, because you understood that you were in safe hands. However dangerous that world was, the man that was taking you there knew that world. He had such an astute handle on his craft.
It's such a unique concept for a film. How much of that concept was he able to portray to you when he first sat down and had that initial discussion with you?
It's a great question. I think Ivan does most of his talking through the script and through the sort of the images that come with that. So we had such a kind of a wonderful sort of shorthand from the get-go, and we sort of found that really easily on Mystery Road, and sort of picked up where we left on this. And it was one of those things, whether it's a sixth sense or just an understanding of where someone was coming from. I gave him the trust and respect to sort of give this character everything I had, and he gave me the kind of the leeway to fill in the breaths between the words.
Now, for the people out there who are getting excited about seeing this film, tell us a little bit about the world that Ivan creates in this film, and a little bit about your character as well.
Sure. So it's a Chinese future city raised from the East China Sea. Very much a loveless world that's on the cusp of immortality and extinction. And it's where two broken, hardened souls search for what it once was to be human, until it confronts them and reveals the mystery of their existence. And ultimately kind of poses the question, would you want to live forever if you had to live without love?
So how do you...
Well, for my...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, how do you prepare for something like that?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you prepare to play a character that's never known love and lives in a loveless society?
It's funny, I'll actually jump to the very, very end of the movie after we wrapped. Ivan sort of turned to me and he said, "What's the one thing you're sort of looking forward to doing after this?" And I said to him, "Smiling."
Yeah.
And you know, and it's believe it, I'm a pretty kind of positive, upbeat guy, even at the worst of times. But this was a character that, took a lot of digging up deeper demons that exist in all of us, whether we choose to sort of confront them or admit that they're there, and really using Ivan's backdrop of a story to kind of release these darker, I guess, demons that were inside of me. And just knowing as well that there was a true burden, knowing how personal of a story this was for Ivan, not wanting to let him down, and at the same time still wanting to kind of give a humanity to this very dark and brooding character.
Yeah. I get the feeling from talking to you that when you were going through the script, it would have almost been like a sense of discovery on every page because of the world that Ivan sets up. What was that like for you when you sat down to read the script?
Yeah, it's really funny, Dave. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so in preparing for this, I went back and reread the script, and it's if you can kind of just go with me for a second, I want to read to you a small excerpt from Ivan's script, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So it's when Jack first confronts April. So that's obviously our love story here, and Jack is watching her. She's a nightclub singer, and he's watching her from behind some glass, and that's the setup. Jack watches April. He slowly feels a chemical reaction within his body. April's last words fade away. The music stops. Jack is silent. So for me, there's like these beautiful kind of excerpts like that where you see an enormous amount of breadth and depth in between what Ivan's writing there, and there are pockets of uncomfortability of sitting in these sort of sitting in the silence, and I think that plays out in this type of movie where you get your audience in a way to kind of challenge the very notions of their own existence.
Does having a passage like that, so beautifully written by Ivan, does that help you as an actor to prepare for that scene rather than if the screenwriter had just written something like he watches April and finds himself falling in love with her? Does it actually help you more prepare for that scene with the way Ivan's written it? Yeah, very well. Very much so. And how so? Like, does it give you that? Well,
it's a sense of tone.
Yeah.
It's an overall sense of tone, and Ivan's such a cinematic poet that it's almost like its own language. When the characters do speak here, I can speak for my character. He's not one that he's very shy on words, and he's not used to getting anything beyond just a sort of a mechanical greeting. And so when a conversation goes to a deeper place, you almost feel him struggling to kind of articulate words.
Yeah.
And I think it just, you hearkened in on the ability to kind of dance in between the lines, and that's what a movie like this does. I mean, we were shooting in Hong Kong for a couple of weeks, and then again in Queensland for a couple of weeks. When we first started on the very first day of production, I remember Ivan turning to us all. Obviously, it's a independent Aussie movie, mate, so we don't have that many days or time. We can't shut down streets in the middle of Hong Kong. This is not a studio movie. We got to kind of do things our own way. And so Ivan turned to us and he said, listen, if we move within the chi of this city, it'll move with us, and it won't even know that we're there. And sure enough, that's what we kind of behoove to do our best to do. And Ivan kind of captured it in his own unique way. And, you really, the city very much becomes a part of the movie. The hustle, the bustle becomes a part of it. You're not stopping life to sort of create it, to create art. You're a part of it.
Yeah.
And that type of richness is very rarely done in a sort of a non-fiction way.
I was talking I was talking to another actor recently who had gone through a similar experience where they'd actually gone to the city that a film was set to film it, and he said that also helped him bring out his character because you weren't acting on a sound set in LA, you were actually there in Hong Kong and Macau. Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you going to those countries to film and how that helped with your character actually being there in those cities.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of that civil unrest at the time, a lot of sort of political unrest too, and again, like Ivan's script and movie, a wonderful kind of calling card to us as a species as to where we're headed, both on an intimate level and on a macro level. And he hits the political scope as well as the humanity scope from a person to person, the connectivity scope, how we're losing touch with our fellow man, how we're becoming more accustomed to dealing with technology than ourselves. It was funny. I remember reading a quote not too long ago that said, most of man's problems stem from the fact that he can't spend an hour alone with himself in a room. And I can't help but think that these days, most of man's problems stem from the fact that he can't even find an hour to spend to himself and just sort of contemplate life. This is, I think there's a real warning. This was made before COVID. And again, I know Ivan was in the middle of a lot of that political unrest in Hong Kong, both at the time and then post movie. So he can kind of tell you sort of in-person stories of what that was like. And this is a movie that was very dear to his heart. And we wanted to capture that.
I was going to ask that. Do you think that the world that's set up in this film is going to resonate more with people now because of what we've been through over the last 2 years with COVID, where we don't get to go to weddings, we don't get to go to funerals. If a loved one dies, it's like they get buried so far away from you that you can't even be there. There are people that haven't been in the same room as a loved one for 2 years. Do you think that will actually resonate more with people now when they sit down to watch the film?
That's such a wonderful point, Dave. Yeah, I really hope so. There's this great line that April says in there, where she sort of says to Jack, "Is that what you want? Someone to remember you?" And I think at the end of the day, when all is said and done, whether it's a legacy or whether it's a life well lived, we all want someone to remember us. We all want to know that we affected someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I can't help but feel that we're heading towards a more loveless type of existence, at the very least, a less emotional type of existence. So I think a movie like this sort of helps highlight that and, throws in a love story and a bit of suspense at the same time.
Tell us also a little bit about Gillian. She's an actress that I think a lot of Australians are going to be excited to see in this film. Tell us a little bit about her and what she was like to work with.
She's a really like a beautiful enigma. She really is. I know what a mission it was for Ivan to find the girl in this, to find April, because he was willing to walk away from this had he not found the girl. It was quite the search. But once sort of Gillian sort of came onto his radar, it was pretty damn obvious, and you don't have to watch too many seconds of the movie, or at least for me, when sort of meeting her in person, it was stone cold obvious. And the more you get to know her, the more you realize that there was a deepness to her, and her past was in many ways similar to that of April's. So she was able to bring a lot of really personal kind of emotions to this, which really kind of helps. There's nothing to kind of sell at that point because it is what it is.
Yeah. Ryan, we are running out of time very, very quickly, and I don't want to hold you over time. So to wrap up, I guess, what would you like to say to everybody out there before they go and see this film? And what next for you in the future? What have you got planned for the next year?
Look, I think this is a movie that needs to be seen.
Yep.
I really do. I think this is our premier Indigenous filmmaker, man. Like, this is someone that needs to be respected, and he's saying something very, very profound here. So I think it's something that I truly feel at the bottom of my soul has made me a better man. If it's done, if it can do to people out there even a little bit of what it's done to me, then I know that it can change things. They may be kind of hyperbole, but I really believe that art has a chance to kind of make a difference, and yeah, I hope it makes a difference.
Definitely.
In terms of what's coming up, mate, yeah, I've got a few movies I just finished shooting, so they should be coming out next year, I guess.
Awesome. Well, mate, I'll let you go, but thank you so much for chatting to us today. It's been an absolute privilege chatting to you, and we can't wait to see you back in Australia sometime soon as well.
Yeah, no, man, it's been a couple of years, but I'll get back there. I'm actually going to get back there in January just to say, give mum and dad a big hug and kiss. It's been way too long. So, yeah, it's nice that I even get that little window.
Definitely.